else is ready. I'll have to pass it. All right, you recording? You're good? Did you turn that thing on?
Yeah.
Good. Usually we forget that. Okay, we'll call to order the Stevensville Town Council's Committee of the Whole meeting. It is Thursday, January 21st, 2021, and this is this council's first in-person meeting, but we are streaming virtually, and the telephone and login information at the agenda does still work, so we can take public comment tonight via the telephone if we need to, if they desire to call in. Ms. Bertha, would you mind calling roll, please?
Councilmember Devlin.
Here.
Councilmember Levington.
Here.
Councilmember Schurd.
Here.
Councilmember Vick.
Here.
And Mayor Dewey.
Here. Okay, thank you. Just a couple of housekeeping items. As this is council's first, this council anyway, first in-person meeting, as you just figured out, the microphones turn on with the button in the front there. They do have a split-second delay. So if you speak, please turn it on, allow it to kick on fully, and then do speak into the microphone. It helps the folks that are listening in on our live stream here as best as possible. And of course, we'll amplify those folks if they choose to call in. One other piece, at least for the publics and the people who are in attendance tonight, it's been a while since we've had a committee of the whole meeting. Committee of the whole meeting is council's opportunity to come together and workshop and discuss and vet certain specific items rather than discussing them at length in a council meeting where we take other legislative action. This is more of an informal meeting where they can, freely discuss whatever item is on the agenda. So that's why these agendas are brief and sometimes broad in terms of topics. Tonight we're here to discuss community facilities, and specifically we have representatives from the Stevensville Community Foundation here to discuss the community center and kind of give us a history on that. And then kind of some next steps as they expect. So without, I guess, any further delay, we'll turn it over to Mr. Thomas if he wants to review what you'd like the council to hear.
Okay. Testing. Thank you for arranging the meeting. As many of you are probably aware, some of you maybe not, the Stevensville Community Center project has been underway for a really long time. I don't know if you've had the time to read through this piece, probably not. Kind of into the detail. So you may read some dates in there that may not be totally accurate, but it's a really good framework of what has happened over the last 20 years. So our purpose here now is we went through a whole lot of stuff for a lot of years, and we've been actively trying to get the community center back up to a point where we want to get it done. And so that's what we're striving to do. The mayor we've had some conversations with the mayor about potentially sharing the facility with the city, some of the particularly parks and recreation activities that the facility could really serve the community well with. The concept behind the community center 20 years ago was quite different than where we're headed today. Essentially 20 years ago, we were looking at a performing arts theater, a large space for large gatherings, and a couple of music rooms. And we had a deal put together with the school that a complex would be built on our property, which is on Middleburn Fork and Park Street. Is everybody familiar with the property? And an adjoining 4-acre parcel from the school district. And the whole concept there was that they needed some music rooms. Well, long and short, even I'm not going to go into the detail there, but that deal failed after 5 years. And so then it became working on the community center as a single project rather than a complex. The complex was, as you'll see in here, I think it's item 2 or 3, but was simply the 4-acre parcel just north of ours would have served as a large parking lot, and it would have serviced several entities, but we'd start with the community center because that was the biggest need. So since that time, we kind of rifled down the needs that need to be met by a community center. And it really boils down to a larger room area that you can hold large gatherings, such as banquets, speakers, large educational forums, whatever happens to come up that requires holding 300-400 people. So along with that, we need it to be flexible. We need it to be, if we need education rooms in there, we need to be able to have dividers in there that we can pull out and separate areas for an educational format. Maybe some exercise groups or adult ed kind of things, that sort of thing. We need tables and chairs to be easily moved in and out, stage risers and so forth, so that it'll accommodate just about any kind of event that is needed. We think we can do that to start with in a facility that is about 6,000 square feet. The original facility was targeted for 10,000. So it's we're looking at 5,000 square feet or thereabouts as open space, and another 1,000 feet for commercial kitchen and storage and bathrooms. And that is just a general concept. Where we are now is we're getting over the humps so that we can actually start planning this thing. We had to do some lot things. We had a ditch down the center of the property that took some time to get moved over to the outside by Middleburn Fork Road. There was a couple of shareholders, water shareholders down that stream that didn't want to give up their share, so we got to make sure that was done. We got that done. The big thing was the sewer trunk line. The sewer trunk line, as you know, stopped at what's the street? Phillips. And thanks to you guys, that has been extended. And that now, I know it's underway and I know it's under the bidding process and all that stuff, but you made that happen so that we have something to really put our pencils to and say, okay, it's coming. Now we need to start planning. So the stages are simple. First one is to get the primary things together. Second stage is get your infrastructure in place. And the third stage, and there's probably a fourth, is to build the thing. And then the fourth stage is to manage it. And I'd probably say management of the facility may be the toughest one to overcome because you really don't have a concrete set of things that are going to happen. You don't know who's going to lease that facility. You don't know what kind of weather or vaccine or viruses we have to fight. There's just so many unknowns. But we do know there is a large demand for a facility like that for our community. And we do know that the community is growing like a weed. So to have this facility, to start it, and I say start only under the guise of, I see this expanding once it's established and being managed and used. My guess is there'll be an addition to it. So our plan is to build it so that you can't add to it. This little map shows, well, I'd like to point out there is a coffee stain on it, and that does make it certifiable. And that is my copy. So, and then the drawing, the red lines, another fine architectural feature by Bob Thomas. The red line is just simply the lot line. It's close. The square in there, the red square, the 60 by 100 is just kind of where we're thinking it would be located. And the dotted line right behind that is utility easement line. That's where we're thinking that we pull our sewer trunk line from Park Street east. So, and then you can see there is a rental property there, and that has helped us a lot through the course of the ownership. It's paid a lot of bills. It's also cost us quite a lot. The property was built in 1954, and it continues to require significant maintenance. But our intentions at this point would be to keep that property alive and well until such time as it makes sense to do something else. So what we're here to talk to you about is we're ready. We're working hard on funding. We're ready to start doing our planning as far as what this thing is going to look like. Budget is a big deal to us. I've thrown a number out here at $1.5 million. I don't know, I'd like to think we can do better, but construction is construction. And right now, costs are at an all-time high. I don't see us breaking ground this year. So hopefully, by the time we would get the thing planned, everybody's got their input, and we've got it ready to go, the cost will have come down. Let's see. So back to why we're here tonight is we've discussed, sharing management, and we've discussed your needs in Parks and Rec, and perhaps other events as well, and our needs to really have a method of good, strong management for that facility. So we're not here to force you, sell you. We're not. There's so many things I think we need to talk about on this that's the whole idea. Is just to start talking and see what kind of thoughts you all may have and where this may go. And if it doesn't go anywhere, okay, that's fine. We tried. That's okay. If it does go anywhere, this is the place to start and to, get everything fine-tuned so that we have an agreement. If we do reach agreement, then we can take that agreement out with us when we go fundraising. And we'd like to have that before we start the official fundraising. The behind the back door fundraising is going on right now, and that's going very well. So we'll have a good, strong seed deposit to start that. Okay, I've talked too much. That's kind of where we're at. And I guess maybe Brandon, maybe talk about what you guys see as a potential positive for the city.
So I can provide it real quick just because it's fresh in my head. We just got an update today on the sewer main extension down Park Avenue. We're looking at bidding in the spring. They're in the design phase right now. HDR is, so that project is being designed currently. And we expect bidding to go out in the spring and the extension to be complete by late summer. So that will be a nice project to just cross right off the list and be done with. Logistically, how that project looks, the sewer main will run down it'll run north and south on the west side of Park Avenue. We will do stubs to the east for any potential future sewer connections. There are three, counting the three current services on the east side of the road that we would coordinate having stubs on those lines so that they don't have to dig up the road when they choose to connect. Nobody on the west side of the road will have a stub necessarily. It'll be a matter, because we're not cutting through street on the west side, it'll be a matter of if anyone on the west side of the road wants to connect, then that's their responsibility. The design will also include a service for the future community center, knowing that building will be there. HDR is designing that service, and it will extend to the property line of the foundation's property, and then it'll be their responsibility from that point to get it to wherever the building sits. So that's kind of an update on where we stand with the sewer main extension. We're looking at, I think, altogether 1,200 feet of sewer main. From the aspect in our discussions about what does the town's involvement in this facility look like in the future after it's built, part of the reason that this conversation originally started was, and why we kind of hurried up about the sewer main extension done was the town of Stevensville, the organization has a real desperate need for large gathering space for council meetings and parks and recreation activities that need to be held indoors. The pandemic really highlighted the need for gathering space in terms of council meetings, for public hearings, and all of those other pieces. We saw tremendous difficulty in scheduling meetings in other facilities. When the pandemic hit, we looked at the idea of holding meetings and even some park and recreation activities in the Family Center at St. Mary's Catholic Church. Unfortunately, they were using that facility for their mass, and they have more or less a permanent setup there. So that was logistically not going to work. We've also tried to schedule meetings in between school closures as well throughout the pandemic. So, there's an immediate need, and this room happens to be the best space for us right now. But, our hope is that maybe this facility could facilitate council meetings in the future, in terms of comfort and audio visual and all of those other pieces that we currently don't have in this building or in our existing space at City Hall. So that was kind of what started the conversation. But then we got the whole Parks and Recreation aspect to it, and Bobby, who is with us on Zoom, so he is watching and listening, brought some insight into the need for what his vision for programming looks like and what kind of space that requires. Parks and Recreation has no indoor space today. So that really limits them to summertime activities, and those are obviously weather dependent. After school programming and the like are difficult to facilitate during the summer when there's no school and outside. So having some of those types of things available in the wintertime, during the school season, during the dark hours, even in the rain and inclement weather, would be tremendous, for his programming and the vision that he has for Parks and Recreation. So